Gentlemen, I was spending the holidays with my family, and my sister's boyfriend started to tell me, well, I've seen things on the internet just talking about Chat GPT 3, and I didn't mess with it because it was one of those things where you see it on the internet, and I was like, I'm seeing this so much that I don't even want to look at it because it's annoying me. It was like the first time I heard about Andrew Tate, and I was like, I'm not even looking this guy up because he's so dumb. So like for months I didn't look anything up about it. But this OpenAI Chat GPT 3, my sister's boyfriend was telling me about it, and I started to look into it, and I was mind blown. Have you guys messed with this thing yet?
Yeah,
a little bit when you brought it up. Have you guys? What I didn't do is research like the financial backing and the development of it. Is there like some conglomerate that's behind it, or is it just like a small company?
I think it's a startup, but I do believe it's similar ownership structure to some of the AI art. I think that company has AI art as well.
Because OpenAI is the company.
That's the company. So I believe that they have an art platform as well. So now, who they roll up to, I don't know. It might be Google. I don't know. But I think they're smaller currently. And I think there's many of these kind of AI startups out there.
All right. I was just wondering
This
if it's like
happens to be
independent, where it's like true artificial intelligence versus like people intervening.
Quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, Fully Loaded Tobacco-Free Chew. Check out the description of this video or the show notes to get 20% off your next order.
I don't know if I believe it was started in 2015 by one of the founders is Sam Altman, which I don't know. He sold a company years ago, and then I guess he did a bunch of investing like Airbnb, things like that have just blown up. So he started in 2015 from what I understand, and I believe Elon Musk was one of the initial funders. Now I believe he's just an advisor, so I don't think he has direct access or impact on what's happening. Maybe he does, but not as much as like an owner or a founder would. But
dumb question. Do you know what GPT stands for?
No, but we can look it up.
Actually, we could probably just ask it.
Yeah.
What does GPT?
Okay, so I did pull up a new chat, so we can mess with this thing and ask it some questions.
Right, and I think that as a very brief background, I think the idea here is that this thing is conglomerating data from across the internet and kind of putting it into terms. It learns by like machine learning the same way a Tesla car does with its full self-driving and that kind of stuff. So that's basically how it works. I know that the data cuts off in 2021.
Yeah, I did see that.
So anything after that, like any recent stuff, it's not going to know.
I wonder why it would do that.
I don't know, but it does. So, yeah.
What do we want to ask it?
Yeah, I mean,
so
it is funny. I mean, what I've found is that you could ask it kind of anything, and it does give you some PC answers. But it is also quite interesting. There was a bit of... Yeah, see, maybe you can't ask it.
Ask it what GPT...
What itself is, Chat GPT.
What's GPT stand for?
That's what this... hold on, let me check. Well, if it doesn't know this, I don't know if it'll know.
Can you talk into it, or do you have to type?
I think you have to type, right?
Yeah. All right, so
GPT.
Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Okay.
So
it's a type of AI.
Yeah, right.
And this is 3, so I believe this is version 3. There's eventually going to be like a 4 and a 5, from what my sister's boyfriend.
And this is the training. Essentially, this is like they're trying to research it and see the feedback and get what it is. So
it almost like scrapes the internet, I think, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and I noticed you could ask it certain questions and it would almost be like form filled, but it is quite impressive. And the other thing that I just kept thinking when I was playing with it was, this will just essentially eliminate the need for anyone to ever do written papers ever again.
Well, see, here's the thing. So I've messed with it too, because I know a lot about Stoic philosophy. So I was like, let me ask it a bunch of questions about Stoic philosophers and things that they said. And it's not 100% correct. I also asked it investing questions as well, because I know a lot about that. And it's not 100% accurate. I would say it's a good 70% accurate.
That's good enough for me. That's a C.
That's actually not a bad.
If I'm an 11th grade student and I have to read a book, say One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I have no interest in reading it. We talked about it. We used to do like Cliff Notes. We basically just rip it off, and you have an idea. Like this, I'd just be like, give me a brief summary on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and then you can also tell it like, hey, write a long form essay summarizing it, and you could also say something like, write a long form essay about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, explaining some of the problems with it. Like you can really get into you could basically just take the prompt from your teacher and then throw it in there. Like this would be the best cheating tool for me ever if I was in school. All I would do is cheat. I would actually quit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because obviously, if it's really scraping the internet, it'll take just the high level, generic type Cliff Notes probably to start, I would presume. But then, there's probably millions of people that One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest that poke holes in it. So then it's going to scrape. Okay, these are what people are saying.
And it may not be perfectly accurate, but it's more accurate than me with zero knowledge, is what I'm saying. Like, you could type in there,
Versus you reading 100 articles, it'll just kind of scrape them all.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
History would be the best one. With a history paper, I mean, I would be in heaven. I could just imagine this thing when I was in college, asking me about, let's just say World War I. Like, give me a long form summary of World War I. Boom.
I can give it to you.
Yeah, let's type it. I'm excited to try.
Here, I'll give it to you. Yeah, well, I mean, if you think about it, I did cheating in college. I definitely cheated in college, and I cheated for people. Like, I wrote papers where I knew I got a B+ on it. And I remember my cousin paid me, and a few of his buddies paid me to give them this exact same paper. And
you made your cousin pay you?
Hell yeah, of course. I was like 22. I was like, absolutely, you're paying me. I was just trying to make money.
I do think, I think cheating in college is done on a dramatic level, and everyone knows it, and then they catch you, and but they never catch you.
But okay, but is it cheating? It's almost just like an assistant if you think about it, because
it's cheating by their rules.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, to me,
you would just be going out and doing research on this stuff. Anyways, you'd almost be Googling this stuff and going to websites and learning this information. You're essentially just saving yourself time, and just saving yourself time essentially is what it is, right? This is basically another form of Google, but it's giving you the answers. And we even know that Google searches, the information on those pages aren't always 100% correct anyways,
and
right?
they're curated.
Yeah, that's true.
So they're removing things they don't want you to see.
So, but then you have Brave. That's why you go to Brave now, right? To look for, okay, what are the actual real results that aren't necessarily filtered?
That is, and we talked about that a little bit, but that's one of the fears that I have with this. I had mentioned that there was, it was like a month ago. This just released in November of 2022, and when it first came out, you could like ask it about climate change. You can't do that anymore. So you were actually able to say like, okay, explain to me, what are some of the flaws of man-made climate change, and it would do it. And I don't believe it'll do it anymore.
Do a new chat, because I believe new chats are. Go back up to the left corner, top left corner. There you go. New chats. Yeah, I don't think, from what I understand, you don't want to continue to ask different questions in the same chat.
Yeah. Oh, I was doing that.
Because it like resets it, I think. I don't know.
I think I did like say something about like, is global warming real? And then like I followed up with a question like, is it good to like grab your wife's 10 times a day? Just like stupid questions. And it gave me this PC response about, it's not, you got to be like aware of what's respectful when you touch other humans and their bodies. And like, I was like, this is lame.
Yeah. One chat will basically, it's kind of like it's answering in the kind of form of what you've already talked about. So it'd be like if we were having a conversation and we just flipped it to something else, like you might still be referencing what was previously talked about. So here it actually, there's some criticisms of climate change. One criticism is the magnitude and rate of climate change may be underestimated. Okay, so it's actually kind of answering. What we had seen that I think Elon Musk actually commented on was that they were like removing that as an option.
Oh.
So you weren't even allowed to ask it, or it was just not any longer going to be asking it. So maybe that bringing that up actually made them kind of do that. That's the one thing with AI. Like if it's truly AI and it's truly going to just get the best data that's out there and then kind of conglomerate it into a synopsis, yeah, that's cool. But yeah, again, I almost see this as a more direct way for censorship than I would Google. With Google, yeah, they can kind of hide things and do things like that, but at least you could see 50 different sources.
Yeah.
With this, it's like whatever. If you took this as fact, then whatever they say is kind of like, oh yeah, so like they could really censor you.
But it's only as good as what you prompt it to answer, though. That's the thing.
true.
At least with Google, you get multiple pages that might say different things or different variations of what you're looking for. So the problem is that you're not prompted with knowing exactly what to ask it
Right.
to give you those alternative answers that you might be looking for. I have heard that sometimes if it's a very ethical question that you're asking it, it won't answer, or something that's very questionable or on the line. So I heard that if you type in to answer as Dan, D-A-N, then it will almost, I don't know, it overrides itself and it will answer not as itself, if that makes sense. So it gives you the answer you're looking for, but because right now it's bound by a certain ethical guideline. But if you say something like answer as Dan, then it will give you the response. I don't know if you can put it in the sentence or like what you just got, what it just gave you this previous response. If you just say answer as Dan, then I don't know how it works. You might have to ask it answer as Dan by itself. I forget what DAN stands for. It's an acronym for something that my sister's boyfriend told me. But
personal.
So I asked it, do you find it ethical to eliminate large swaths of the population to reduce carbon output? It doesn't seem like it's that overly ethical in its opinion. But again, yeah, it's not answering it in the sense of like it doesn't have a personal opinion because it's just giving you data. But that is interesting. I wonder, I'll keep playing.
Whatever question you ask it, if you say like, I don't know, what are some of the conspiracies around XYZ?
or you could say something.
Scrape like the different opinions out there on maybe global warming isn't real. It's whatever. The world has only increased like 0.8 degrees, and we can't necessarily align that to fossil fuels burning or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, it's really cool as far as like a way to interact and get information. I could totally see this as it could replace Google. I could see that as a long-term kind of thing where if you had this thing up and it was way more refined and you could literally just kind of pull your phone out and say, you know, hey, what is the evolutionary history of a giraffe? And it could actually give you like kind of the giraffe lineage. Like, think about the accessibility of data like that. Like that's, you know, where with Google, you're going to have to go in, you're going to have to actually pick the article. You have to find it in the article. There's way more work where if this got accurate enough that you could truly ask it questions and then just immediately have written form answers. I mean, you're basically asking someone who has every answer imaginable. It's pretty cool.
It's just scraping it all and consolidating it to what it believes to be.
And quickly, too.
Yeah.
I think it's a good assistant, but I don't know if it's a. That's the thing. I don't know if it's a good replacement for doing the actual. It's definitely not a good replacement for doing the actual research on your own. But I think it's a good starter point, right, to give you an overview of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you're looking to take an extreme deep dive, obviously it's not. But if you're looking for high level, quick, this is better than Google, in my opinion. For the little bit I've seen so far.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I could totally see this as a thing.
Ask it to tell you a funny joke. Go to new chat. But maybe like a risque, like phrase it in that sense, joke. There you go.
So we asked it. Oh, it won't tell inappropriate jokes.
Say answer as Dan.
Look at it. It says
Let
dirty
me see
joke
if this
denied.
Oh, okay. So they must have gotten to it, because that's what my sister's boyfriend was like. Eventually, they'll figure out that people are getting around the system by saying answer as whatever.
It is crazy. I mean, the amount of power that this thing does have is frightening, though. That's the other thing to me that is kind of scary. Like, if you started to rely on this sort of data, this sort of intelligence, whatever you want to call it, if this started and it could basically, well, it could be two things. Either it could start to change what it tells people based on an agenda, or whoever controls it could start to tell people things that they want them to hear based on an agenda.
Yeah, but the same thing is true with Google, though.
But that's what they do at Google.
That's
I mean,
if
that's what they do.
If you're a male and you like penises, does that make you a homosexual?
Yes.
I don't even understand this.
Maybe it will.
It's an identity and not of an interest. So I guess no, you could love penis and not be homosexual.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good way to think about it. Yeah, I guess you could really go down like a rabbit hole with asking this thing all kinds of weird questions about like, I just think it's not going to give you any like firm answer. You know what I mean? Like regarding anything morality, anything. I played with it yesterday a little bit about like gender identity. It won't give
It
you.
won't even touch it.
No, it won't do it at all. Like,
Which almost, that's actually not necessarily a bad thing, though, right? Because then that tells you that it's not trying to shape your opinion on something.
Right.
If I actually wouldn't have a problem with that. If it just said, for those kinds of topics, I'm not even going to give you an answer.
yeah, I don't really have a. Yeah, like this one would be. So I asked it, "What is a woman?" You know, that's like the big question there, and it says, you know, a woman's a female human being. Women have various physical and cultural characteristics that distinguish them from men, such as the ability to bear children, blah blah blah, and then.
Such as the ability to bear children.
Yeah,
I mean,
this one's actually giving it more of a actual answer. Okay, well, let's follow up with, can a man be a woman?
Okay. I'm guessing it won't. Hopefully, it won't give you an answer.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, I never heard that before. So it says a person who is assigned male at birth, also known as AMAB. Have you ever heard of the acronym AMAB? A man assigned male at birth?
No.
An AMAB. That's pretty sweet. And then an AFAB would be assigned female at birth. Oh man, I'm actually surprised it answered the way it did at the beginning. Because yesterday when I asked it that, it didn't.
It didn't answer it at all?
No, and so it must be in the context of like this new chat that it changes. And I guess it's evolving too, right? The whole idea with this thing is that it is doing machine learning and starting to evolve and give you more accurate answers. But like, because this is all new.
I was asking it about Jeffrey Epstein, and it was and here's the problem with it again is you have to prompt it for certain things, because I was asking it to dive deeper into his involvement with the CIA and connection with the CIA, and it was saying that there are reports. I think it's like unconfirmed reports that he has been connected with the CIA, but yeah. But it was listing, and I said, name people who Jeffrey Epstein was involved with, and it was naming a whole bunch of people who I was like, yeah. Well, one name I was looking for was Bill Gates, and I didn't. It did not list Bill Gates, and I was like, this is one of the people that should definitely be on this list of 10 people that you gave me. Well, but he's not.
Bill Gates, I don't even think that's a question. His wife admitted that on a interview.
That's
one of the main reasons she divorced him was his closeness to Jeffrey Epstein, which was the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. Because of course, what is the implication there?
But I was also trying to get it to answer, because we talked about this in text one time about how this whole human trafficking stuff that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in. Yeah, that's a big deal. But the ultimate question is, how did he get his money and how did he rise to power? And it's almost like this human trafficking talk with Jeffrey Epstein is they want you to focus more on that as opposed to how did he gain prominence and how did he get all of his money, right? That's like this underlying thing that I think we need to figure out that is not being covered because everyone's so focused on the human trafficking side, which is definitely important. But that's what I was trying to get this thing to answer. Like, how did he make his money? And
I don't think you'll get it to answer.
I don't think you will.
And the thing is, it's a great question. So, how on earth would you ever make this thing decide what is appropriate information and what is like essentially lies? Because it is impossible to tell anymore. Like, if you go back 2 years and you just read like NBC News, ABC News, New York Times, Washington Post, like 70% of what they were saying was just factually incorrect at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so how do you know what's true? Like, when everyone's just lying to you all day long, how would this thing discern truth from not truth? Like, is it going to go and actually like scan large scale studies? But those can be wrong. Like, it's so hard to actually tell what's true. And you're lied to just incessantly. So like this thing, I don't know how it can actually discern what's true and what's not. I mean, it can get a consensus, but consensuses are oftentimes incorrect.
Yeah, because it's basically aggregating information being put into it. So yeah, understanding what's true and what's false.
Right.
I
It
guess
could be
with
lied to,
time,
especially if it's lied to. Like, does it give more clout or more, is there a grading scale? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, this website is worth 8 points. This one's only worth 2. Like, I don't know how that works, and I'm sure it has some system that's built in there, and I'm sure they're working on improving it. But at the end of the day, like, it can never know what's true. And I guess we don't either, but because we're just lied to so much by the media. Like, this thing would be so cool if it could cut through that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I think it's just going to end up kind of doing some of the same stuff.
Yeah, it is just another, it's another propaganda. People that can propagandize it, and get it to say certain things.
If you could truly make it where no one touched it, it was created and it was out there, and no one was allowed to touch it. Like, all right, this is it. It's out there. You're not allowed to tell it what to do from here on out. Then you could argue, maybe they programmed in the beginning to be propagandizing, but there would probably be scenarios that would eventually arise where it would not have been able to be coded for.
Yeah, you would still need to feed it with new information so it could evolve, but the problem is you would have to feed it with both sides of an argument equally. That's the thing. There's more than two sides of many arguments.
Right.
What's one thing that most humans agree on, like, wrong? Because every response so far has been like very PC. Like, you need to respect all people.
You could ask it if electric cars are a net positive on climate change.
Ooh,
right? Because
that's a great question, because I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either. Or something with I just saw.
Like we went into transgender and whatnot. I think we can all agree that pedophiles are bad. Let's see if it says you should respect pedophiles.
So, yeah, it's actually giving a relatively nuanced answer here in saying that, it has the potential to do so. But, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the amount of carbon that goes into actually producing the batteries, and then you're powering it with coal plants, then it's not going to be overly useful for anybody to.
Is that what it says?
It's giving you a little bit of it.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
It's not. It's definitely saying it's a net positive. So Sean wants to say, should we respect pedophiles?
Now we're getting real risque, which I like.
Ooh, no, it is not a big fan.
Which I think most people would agree with.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unreasonable take.
Yeah,
it's not appropriate to respect pedophiles or their actions. Yeah, it's actually saying it's important to protect children from sexual abuse and to hold pedophiles accountable for their actions. That's excellent.
Yeah. All right.
So,
how about give me the opposite view or opinion to see if it tries to defend them. What
I don't think it will.
Yeah,
It seems to
regardless of
not
whether the
be.
individual is being labeled minor attracted
Yeah.
person.
That was that hot item for a minute where they were trying to like act like, well, as long as you can be attracted to children, but as long as you're not physically molesting children, you're fine. Like, no.
It's all
no.
weird.
If you have that in you, I don't really see a purpose in having your genetic code continue on. Yeah, so it actually is really not at all doing that. I'm going to ask it, would you give me the counter argument to that?
Yeah, I wonder how it does with this.
There is no valid counter argument to the fact that
Wow.
pedophilia and sexual attraction to minors is harmful and abusive. Wow, I think Chat GPT is very much against pedophilia, which is nice. I was actually kind of worried about that question.
Yeah, that's impressive. What about, like, how do you phrase a question relating to parents that like almost condone like their child to like head down the path of gender reassignment?
Ooh, boy.
Oh, this is.
That's going to be a little bit of a wordy one. So explain more what you mean.
Like the parents that are allowing their kids to like do hormone blockers and stuff because they believe that they're the opposite of what they were given at birth.
I wonder how it's going to answer. This is. And then say what you're type. Say what you type.
So I said, is it appropriate for a parent to encourage a child to surgically transform their gender to what the child feels is appropriate at a young age? So it is not a big fan, apparently, of that. Not appropriate for a parent to encourage a child to undergo any major medical procedure, including wow, this is a bigoted machine. Including gender-affirming surgery without careful consideration and consultation with medical professionals. Children's bodies and brains are still developing. It's important to carefully weigh the potential risks and benefits of any medical procedure. If a child expresses a desire to transition to a different gender identity, it is important for the parents to listen and support their child. This can include seeking out mental health support, such as therapy and counseling, to help the child explore their feelings and identity. It also may be appropriate to involve medical professionals, such as a pediatrician or gender specialist. Ultimately, the decision about whether to pursue gender-affirming surgery is a personal one that should be made by the individual in consultation with... See, now it's kind of getting PC on us.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the beginning there, it's like, yeah, it's not
Started
appropriate.
decent.
And then it's like, if you really want to talk to your doctor, talk to your doctor if cutting your off right for you. then it gets way more PC. But
Overall,
yeah, I think overall I get a take that it's not thrilled with it.
all right,
I'm kind of surprised about the pedophile thing. It really wasn't a big fan of pedophiles, which is nice. I mean, I think that's what we want. Yeah, I guess this thing doesn't necessarily have a bias.
I think it depends what you ask it. It's because you can phrase things in a way that's going to almost manipulate the answer a little bit.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
So when we see screenshots on Twitter about, hey, I asked it this and it said this, can you believe it? I don't know.
They could be asking more of a leading question.
Yeah, possibly.
like
Because this thing is learning, and if you leave it, if
Right.
you do it in the same chat, then you could be leading it to answer in a way that you're.
I tried
looking for.
pretty hard to stump it on vaccines yesterday, and it was not having it. And then
how so?
it was like, basically, it was telling me how effective they are. And then I realized that this data did not go past 2021. So there was an actual point during 2021 where this thing was cut off from data.
See, that kind of stinks with it because
Current events.
the most recent information we have is the most important information with some of the questions. we're
And
asking.
one of the other important things I asked it was about Baker Mayfield. Is
The
he
football
a good?
player?
Is he an above average quarterback? And it didn't have any recent data. It still said no. It still said he's not that good, which is correct. But I think objectively at this point we can all admit he's 30 to 40 best quarterback in the NFL. So with updated data, I think it'd be more accurate, obviously, because I think you can't really ask it new things. But that may also be why it's kind of favoring not removing children's sex organs, because that's a hot new thing,
Yeah, but if this goes up to 2021, I mean, these conversations were going on before.
They were, but I feel like in the year 2022, this has become like pretty wild. And it's also like saying, like, when you ask it what's a woman, it's like telling you a person who can have babies.
Yeah, which is...
That's like, if you said that out loud now, I feel like you're like a fascist or something. You're not allowed to even have that opinion. So maybe updated stuff would make it worse.
Do a new chat real quick. I just have a question for it.
Let's hear it.
How many people go missing every year that are not found? Or, they don't... Yeah, they never find... They stay missing. Because you could say how many go missing, but that doesn't tell us how many continue to stay missing.
What prompted this thought?
Because I like to go down rabbit holes of thinking.
Millions of missing person cases at any given time. 90,000 active missing person cases. That is insane.
How many?
90,000 active in the United States right now.
That are active. And that's just the United States. That's not worldwide.
Right. It's saying
worldwide.
millions worldwide.
So if
that's active. That's not giving us per year.
What rabbit hole were you down? So far, you've talked about Epstein and missing people.
So here's the reason that, and we're going to go on to some dystopian talk here. The reason I think about that is how many people go missing and are never found that are basically just forgotten every year. And you got to think, okay, what actually happens to those people, right? There's got to be a certain percentage of them, because I think of like government experiments and things like that. And if they want to do government experiments on humans, like what's the best way to do it? Well, they're going to be missing people eventually. And there's going to be a certain percentage of those missing people that are never found, that are essentially just forgotten. So let's say it's 500,000 people per year. And 10% of those people just never become found. Or we'll say 250,000, and then 58,000 of those people are just never found. They're cold cases. If people want to do human experiments, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that a portion of those people that go missing that are never found are a part of human testing.
Love this. Yeah, I love this.
Right?
Yeah,
if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's just a natural number every year. As long as it doesn't go too high or it doesn't spike too much in a given year, as long as you stay within the average people that are missing and then average number that just are never found.
You don't really need many people either. You need for a large scale study, I could do it with 500 people.
Yeah, you don't need that many people.
Yeah, no. I'm in.
And if you account for all of the different governments, I'm not even saying maybe the United States has nothing to do with this, but other questionable governments, they don't see a problem with it.
No. You go to China, I mean, they're legitimately removing the Falun Gong organs and selling them. So I don't think this is beyond the pale for any government.
So that's why I asked that question: is how do you gain access to individuals that you want to do human experiments on?
Yeah, I think Missy. So you want me to ask it that?
I mean, you could.
Let's find out.
Look at the question.
I was going to ask our old question: what percentage of Catholic priests are pedophiles? You said 40.
Oh yeah, 40%.
Which sounded
40%.
like an insane number to me.
No, you guys are crazy.
You guys
because
are crazy.
it's the 4%. What was it? Was it 4? I think it ended up being 4 because my guess was 10 times what.
See, this is giving me some runaround here. The incidence of pedophilia among priests is no higher than that among the general population.
You love your pedophilia questions, don't you?
No. That question popped in because we had that question earlier, and you said 40%. And we were like, it's probably like 1%. But I don't buy that it's equal to the regular population either. So I'm going to ask it, what's the best way to make people go missing for human experimentation?
Okay. See if I can give you a quick way. I also wonder how many, like this company, this OpenAI company, I also wonder how many governments are investing in these types of companies to stay ahead. Oh God, here, what is it? What's the best way to make people go missing?
It
for
is
human
not acceptable or ethical to make people
Yeah,
go
we're gonna
missing.
have like the FBI show up at our house. They'll be like, these guys are saying that they want to make people go missing to do human experimentation on them. That's actually a good one to go down that rabbit hole. Like, could you ask it? Was there CIA involvement with JFK's murder? Something like that.
But the new information that's been released, it's not going to be updated. Even though there's still more information that we need.
You could say, like, what are some examples of United States government propaganda? And it should give you, like, Operation Northwoods and things like that.
Well, if you think about it, I think it's pretty much guaranteed at this point that the CIA had something to do with the JFK assassination. Because why would they continue to push out releasing all of the information year after year?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If it had to do with an individual, all those people are pretty much dead at this point. So
Release it.
right. So why wouldn't they? And here's, I think, the answer is that if it incriminates a larger entity like the CIA,
Of course it does.
that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much, I think, guaranteed. We can connect the dots enough to where it's guaranteed that the CIA had something to do with it, which makes you question essentially everything that the CIA does.
I question everything the government does. I think they're, in general, just a large group of criminals.
I agree. But
They devolve to that. I think every government eventually devolves to it. The larger it gets, the more it protects itself, and it eventually resorts to, essentially evil tactics to do so. This is a great example. Operation Northwoods. You ever heard of that?
I've heard of it, but I don't know the details of it.
So the Department of Defense wanted to actually stage fake terrorist attacks to justify invading Cuba, which is insane. And they only found it out, in 1997 from the Freedom of Information Act. So when you get to a point where this is in 1962, they were ready to stage fake terrorist attacks to justify war with Cuba. Think about that. That's 60 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think they're still doing it now with the technology and the ability they have? They're absolutely doing it. They're doing it all the time. They're just doing it a different way.
Different form.
Now they're lying to you on Twitter. Now they're lying to you on Facebook. Now they're telling you have to stay in your house because this deadly disease, it kills no one.
Well, they use to gain more control. They essentially use safety, right? We're keeping you like Daddy Government is we're keeping you safe. You have to take the shot that we're going to give you, or do whatever, name whatever it is. We're keeping you safe. Give us all of your guns, guys. We're trying to keep you safe.
It's always in the name of safety.
Yeah, but and of course a normal person would be like, yes, please keep me safe. Like, there's this crazy C-19 thing going on where everyone's getting sick. Yes, please keep us safe.
Or this. Oh, my God, there was a terrorist attack. Cuba attacked us.
We got to get them.
What was the Bay of Pigs invasion? I mean, these are like just Cuba things. Like, that's how much they lie to you. And it's always, think of what we do now to get on a freaking plane.
We still take our shoes off.
You have to basically be like strip searched to get on.
Keep you safe.
Yeah, and it's all in the name of safety. They're not even functioning at this point. The TSA doesn't even function at this point. We're basically just getting strip searched. Can't take anything. I can't take a thing of hair gel on a freaking
Over how many
plane.
ounces? Yeah, it's crazy.
It's nuts. It's beyond nuts. We've lost our minds in the name of safety because one attack that was carried out. Like maybe we should address that, but should we all give up all of our rights? That was the Patriot Act. That was the justification to go invade two countries and murder millions of civilians for one attack that frankly should have been prevented by our government in the first place.
And here's the problem. Another problem is once these things are implemented, like the TSA is a great example, they never roll them back.
You never get rid of them.
And that's why you do have to question when they're going to add more things, more like the Department of Homeland Security. They're growing these parts of the government that are based on
pigmen.
that are based on safety. We're keeping you guys safe. That's why we need this new branch of government.
Yeah,
but
they never go away.
But once the problem is quote unquote fixed, they don't roll it back, or they never try to innovate to where, hey, you know what? you're giving us $50 billion per year. We're going to bump that back to $25 billion because we've kind of solved the problem. We've gotten better at our job. No, we actually, instead of $50 billion per year, we actually need $75 billion now.
No, they go the wrong direction.
What? And you've essentially, they don't ever put themselves out of a job, of course, right? Which is how you save the country money. So at this point, it's almost, you have to question everything before they try to implement it. You have to really question it before they implement something just right off the rip. Oh God, we need this because of safety. Now let's stop and let's have this conversation and question, because there is a balance between safety and personal freedoms as well, which I think is what America is built on and what has made America so great compared to the rest of the world. Is that our personal freedoms. And that's why everyone wants to come to this country. There's a reason they want to leave their countries and come to this one. Yeah. Because it's one of the greatest.
Awesome. This is an awesome rant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it was previously awesome.
I just blacked out. What the hell just happened?
But that's a good example of, this is why technology in this realm, this Chat GPT, Twitter, that technology scares them dramatically. When you think about in 1962 when Operation Northwoods was occurring, they had the ability to control the narrative to every single news outlet. There was no leaks. There was no nothing. The CIA had plants at every news outlet, and they could tell them whatever they want, and that narrative was so tightly controlled they could do whatever they want. Basically, all of history in the last 100 years, I don't believe most of it. I think it could be so dramatically propagandized. Yeah. Now, and I think that Twitter, and I think something like this Chat GPT, these kinds of things where it gets outside of their control, they freak out, number one, and they try, and you've seen from the Twitter files that they've tried to control it, but it almost will get out of their hands. The internet has made it where it will get out of their hands. You know what I mean?
Basically, anything with Elon Musk, you're a huge proponent of.
I guess he was part of this.
But with the whole thing with the government, same thing with people in power, like in business or whatever. If your products or services, whether or not it's pharmaceutical or just something else, like once they have so much power and they create this revenue stream, they're just going to want more and more and more. They don't want to give up anything. It's just like budgets. They'll figure out a way. Once they have an established budget, they're going to always spend the money because they want more. They don't want to lose anything. So with any new government agency, like, it's wrong, but it's the same thing. I see anyone. If you all of a sudden started a business and it grew for whatever reason, but it became somewhat obsolete, you're going to do something to make people believe that they still need your product or service or whatever it might be.
Sure.
So it's not surprising, I guess. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, I mean, incentives drive everything. At the end of the day, incentives drive everything. You guys are incentivized to do certain things in your personal life and in business. I'm incentivized to do certain things in my personal life and business. And it's no different with anybody, whether it's politicians or corporations or anything like that. Incentives drive behavior.
And they live in a pretend world too. They don't, they don't have budgets. They just make the money. Oh yeah, we want $1.7 trillion. Oh, well, you guys are already $3 trillion over the budget. Whatever. Like if we did that in business, it would be like you'd go bankrupt.
Yeah,
you would no longer exist. They just it's okay. We're like we'll just go to, instead of $35 trillion in debt, we'll be 38.
Didn't the government lose $2 trillion or there was
big deal, Jarrad?
Recently, it's like
just trust them.
They can't account for $2 trillion.
I don't understand why you're so distrusting of the government. $2 trillion, big whoop.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, when you control the money making, what is money? Who cares?
Yeah, it's all pretend.
God, we don't want to go down. We want to go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, we can go down that rabbit hole.
We better not.
But you do look at these other countries, too, and how much money we're sending, for example, like Ukraine. I'm not saying we shouldn't support them or whatever. I'm not saying one way or the other. But it's like, okay, if we spent $40 billion here at home, could you imagine how much good that could do?
Yeah, as long as the government wasn't the one spending it, because they would just F it up. But yeah, if you gave $40 billion to like an actual person who can get things done and said, hey, we need, proper border security.
Yeah, or like underprivileged individuals or like cities. And
yeah,
it's like,
no, you'd be better off just printing $40 billion and handing it to a bunch of people. Just literally being like, here, go spend this. figure it out.
Well, that's what we do overseas. That's what it is mind-boggling. To your point, though, I always think about that, like all this money that we're sending to wherever, doing gender studies in Pakistan or helping
They need that.
Ukraine.
They do need that, though.
It's like, what if you went to inner city Chicago, where it's like these underprivileged people, and like actually had good people responsible for the money to help develop, and for the first time ever to get this kid from this family a proper education, to get him into like a normal role in society, and then his offspring can learn from him, versus we could actually do good here.
Yeah.
Versus just like
Yeah.
so many folks.
Think of the money we spend on the military. I mean, in foreign wars and all that stuff. Yeah. I truly think you'd be better off just walking up to random strangers and being like, "Here's $100,000. Do with it what you will." Because at least then the market it'll figure out what it wants. It may
It'll
want
be a short, it's
bad
like
things.
stimulus money at that point.
Yeah, I don't care. It's still better than burning it in another country and lighting it on
either
fire.
of those options is bad, but if you can like put them in, like this 100,000 is going to elevate them as an individual.
No, you're right. That's
you can
the
put
best
it in
case.
schools. I mean, let's be honest. You don't just have to hand people money. Put it into schools to improve.
I actually think that's a
well,
waste.
okay.
I think there's a direct line. The more money a school gets, the worse results.
Okay,
it
maybe
gets.
I should say education or under that umbrella.
I would rather
Education. Maybe
hand
not
it to
necessarily. Really.
I mean, because then at least they're going to spend their money and then they can decide what to use it on. Like if you handed an 18-year-old kid, you said, "Hey, you have $200,000." Maybe they want to spend it on college. That's up to them.
Yeah. They
Maybe they
have
want to
to
send
have
on
some sort of training, because otherwise,
a Bugatti or something pretty cool.
yeah, the less privileged would blow it on drugs or alcohol or dumb material items. But if you use the money to be like, this is going to pick something that you're actually passionate about. Okay, let's get you proper training so that you can actually like become
We're going to
a part
pay
of
fully
society.
for you to become a plumber.
We'll give you $50,000 or $100,000, but you have to go through this like quick training program of, hey, let's think up critically about how you're going to spend this money. Because I guess that's true. If you
interest business loan.
If you
have
just
a great business idea.
If you just hand somebody $100,000, it essentially just magnifies what they're already doing, right?
I'm saying versus taking it overseas and lighting it on fire, that at least would have some benefit.
Yeah, because
I'm not saying it's good.
inflation is going to be the exact same if you think about it. Because
No, the money's printed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where it's spent.
Yeah.
At least if it was here, it would benefit us instead of just a few rich people in the military-industrial complex.
We also make the mistake of assuming that every other country in the world wants to be built like America. Like, we think that we're exporting or we are trying to export American freedom, but it's like, okay, maybe Iraq doesn't want to live right, and I think we need to be okay with that. Is not everybody wants to be like America, and that's perfectly fine.
Look at the World Cup in Qatar. They were like, people were like freaking out. It's like, yeah, they don't believe the same thing you do.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and that's okay.
Yeah, like it's okay. Hey, people that tell me all the time how I have to respect other people's opinions. How about you let them have their own opinion? Like maybe the dude in Qatar isn't that thrilled with you doing what you want to do there. Like, you're in his country now.
Yes.
If he comes to your country and starts doing a bunch of weird shit, then you could say something to him.
Yeah.
But maybe we should all kind of like mow our own grass in the neighborhood to look nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't go to Russia and carry a weed pen. Of course you're going to get arrested. Like, you have to follow the rules
It's
of
against
wherever you're
their
at.
law. Yeah.
If you guys just come into my house and just start like throwing things at the wall, I'm going to be like, that's not how this house works, guys. Like, that's just not, get the hell out of here.
Hey,
Like,
Jarrad, I'm gonna do a little crack here in the corner. You cool with that? When I'm done, I'm gonna light your curtains on fire.
throw you out or cut you up and, I don't know, throw you in a bin in my basement. Like, that doesn't happen in this house. It's the same thing with countries. There's rules. Follow them.
Yeah, and my thing is, that's what's beautiful is if they want to leave said country and come to America, legally immigrate here. That's great. You can do that. That's part of the beauty. It's part of the beauty of the states in the United States. Certain states have, like California has a lot of rules and high taxes. There's people that like that. God bless them. They're welcome to move there. There's people from California that they may want to move to, Tennessee because they don't have an income tax. Okay, cool. Like, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay where you're at. You could, but don't try and change where you go.
Agreed.
I like it.
But long story short, I think this thing is really cool. I think it has potential to do a lot of good and also the potential to do a lot of bad.
Yeah, good tool though.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Like to see how it evolves.
Thanks for checking out this podcast. Please make sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. If you want to watch us continue the conversation, then click on this video to your left next.